Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Codex After Dark. My name is Tim. This wonderful guy over here is Jamie, and down below is somebody you know, but now is an official member of the Codex After Dark team and the Codex Station team as a whole. That would be Tone Supa. Tone, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. How's it going?
Very good. We are glad to have you as part of this team. It is wonderful to have you as our number 3, the third guy in the chair. You are our Ned Leeds.
Yes.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm
Absolutely.
happy to be a part of the team and look forward to everything we're going to be doing together.
Absolutely. All right. So, Jamie, why don't we go ahead and take this away? You want to get started with pulls?
Yeah, I would say you or Tone can start. I'll go last since you guys have pools.
Okay.
And I've got something fun this week, which is what I'm collecting and working on. So
I've got this many, so I don't know how many you have today, Tone. So if you want to go ahead and
let's do the stack.
Okay. So you guys don't got me. You guys really don't got me beat.
Tone, why don't you go ahead and take it away, man?
Okay.
Yeah.
So pretty good week for comic reading. And so I'll start with, I picked up, this is a second printing of this, but I didn't pick up the first printing. This is Han Solo and Chewbacca. So for those who don't know, Star Wars has been hot and heavy writing in comics for the past few years. And I believe that a lot of the Star Wars content that's written in comics should just be made into movies. And
Right.
so this is a story that's unique to Han Solo and Chewie. I've read it. It didn't do a lot of development in this first one. It just kind of establishes that they're into stuff with Jabba again. And so this was my first pull this week.
I like on the cover, it's not so much a likeness of Harrison Ford anymore. And they're
Yeah. Because I remember when they came out with the Han Solo miniseries I picked up, and it was basically him as just racing, like a death race.
Yeah.
And that was good. So I didn't even know that came out. So that might be something I'm picking up this week.
Nice.
And my next pull was Sabertooth. So for those who don't know, Sabertooth, I really wasn't a big fan of this cover. I feel like this cover was kind of a quick throw together by the artist. This cover doesn't really do anything impactful. For those who don't know, Sabertooth in the current X story was imprisoned, put into stasis inside of Krakoa. And this follows him in stasis. So he's actually inside of his mind while being in stasis. But some other people are put into stasis with them. And the question becomes, how do they get out of stasis? And that's what this book is.
So is Sabertooth a good guy or bad guy right now?
Sabertooth is a bad guy.
Okay.
But what they are adding to his character, historically, they've kind of just painted Sabertooth as the, as a brawler, vicious, murderous killer. And what they're really taking this series to show you is that Sabertooth's actually pretty cerebral. He's a thinker and a long-term thinker. And
that makes sense though with his character.
Yes, it absolutely does. And so a lot of people don't know that back with some of Wolverine and Sabertooth's history, they both lived for hundreds of years, and they both served governments, and they've been on different special ops teams together. And some of those special ops teams were used by governments to destabilize other nations. And so it really brings into question, while we see Sabertooth as just this guy who shows up occasionally and wants to kill Wolverine, and he's pretty murderous, that there is a significant brain behind all that murderous muscle. And he's putting it to work against Krakoa, right? And so that's what that book is about. My next
I might put that on my pull list. That sounds interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. My next pull is Dark Knights of Steel.
Very good pull.
Number 6.
Yes.
That's what the cover looks like. This story continues to be a great kind of Elseworld story of you're in a almost Camelot style kingdoms. A war between 3 kingdoms is brewing. One kingdom.
I don't know if brewing is the right word to use here. I feel like it's established.
The powder keg ready to blow.
And some very interesting read. If you want to read the classic DC heroes, but not a classic DC story, something that's more Arthurian, if you will, in nature, by all means, I highly recommend that.
Yeah. One thing
Dark
I do
Knight-
say about that issue or that series as a whole is I've always described it to people as Game of Thrones meets DC.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
That would be
highly
perfect.
mythological. You know what I mean? Like they are really digging both hands into making it a mythology, legends and myths and fairy tales and all that stuff incorporated into the world that is Dark Knights of Steel. I love that series. It is,
and you can catch the first 2 issues on Decoding Panels, and the rest of them are going to be up here shortly. So
that's right.
Be on the lookout for that.
Dark Knights of Steel is my current favorite by Taylor right now.
Wow. Now my next pull is Thor, right?
Yes.
And this is the funeral for Odin. Odin died. It's actually a collection of short stories.
Okay. Because they're starting the Hulk versus him, I believe.
Yes. This is Thor number 750. And it's not just one story. There are about 5 stories in the book that tell stories of Odin and Thor's interaction or things that Odin did that Thor was unaware of.
Donny Cates is the writer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good stuff. I had to admit, when I first read it, when I first started reading it, I thought, okay, the funeral, it starts with the funeral, and then the funeral goes into a short story and then another short story as Thor reads the Book of Gods. And so a book that only the kings of Asgard get to read. And so since he's the king of Asgard now, he's reading the book, and now he gets to read things that Odin wrote in the book.
That is interesting.
And so that's what he's reading to you in these short stories. And it's pretty good stuff. Highly recommend it if you like Thor.
Right on.
That's one series I gotta admit. Now, Tone, I'm gonna ask you one question if you're keeping up with it, which is part question.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about War of Hammers, the arc overall?
I felt the War of Hammers arc was underwhelming.
Okay.
And so when we started talking about the God of Hammers, I feel like I love the fact that they've established all the way back in the Mighty Thor, which is when everyone's going to see Thor, Love and Thunder, and Jane Foster. You see there's a woman Thor, and that's based in comics. Jane Foster became Thor in comics, and she was the Mighty Thor for a while. Now, Thor has an old moniker, the Mighty Thor, and then Marvel dropped it for a while. And when they brought Jane Foster in it, she was the Mighty Thor.
Yes.
And so during that arc, though, they established several times that Mjolnir is not just Thor's magic space rock hammer, right? That Mjolnir has a cosmic storm that's been imprisoned inside of it. That storm is sentient and alive.
That's interesting. Like that's stuff that I never knew before.
Yeah.
And I think it was just great recent Thor development that yielded that, Tim. And
nice.
It was really well done. The storm, Odin fought this storm to tame it, and he couldn't. It's the storm, the original storm that creates the universe, imprisoned in the hammer. And so what you come to find out is that the hammer has a personality of its own. It is sentient. It chooses what it chooses to do, who it serves, or who it wants to help, I should say. And so God of Hammers, the story arc goes into this a bit more. And I can't quite say I like the resolution.
I agree with that.
It's just kind of like they draw this big thing into some legitimate conflict, and then they kind of tie it all up in an issue.
Yes.
And you're like, what? Like this should be the biggest of arcs, and you're just kind of shutting this down right now. So that was my problem with Storm.
The first 2 issues of it I thought were fantastic, especially how in depth they went, and then the last I was like, you guys dropped the hammer on this one, no pun intended. But like you had it, Kate. What happened here? But no, go on. I wanted to get your opinion on it because I thought it was a good start, but the finish line you kind of tripped and fell before we hit it.
Wow.
Now a couple of my other pulls. I'm trying to save the best for last. I picked up the last issue of The Last Ronin.
I'm getting that next week.
I think they did a great job closing out their story arc I'm not sure I'm a fan of their story arc because it's so much darker than the classic Turtle.
Than what we're used to.
Yeah. And so I'm trying not to be too hard on it. The concept in and of itself, for those who don't know, The Last Rodent at this part, there's no spoiler. It's been out for, this is the last book, and the books have been coming out relatively slow. So the basis of it is there's one turtle left when this series starts. He's the last of the turtles, and no one knows which turtle it is, which was the turtle that had to watch his brothers and his masters die, and under what circumstances did they die. And the series is about that reveal. And then you come to understand across the series what happened to the brothers and how they lost. Is it too much of a spoiler to say who it is here? Or do we want to just?
No, it's been like
think by
7
this
months.
time,
It's been like almost a year, I think, at this point.
Yeah, people should know by now. If you don't know, ladies and gentlemen,
now you know.
Stop watching the video and go read the issues. Then come back.
Just for 1 minute, because I'll be done with it in 1 minute.
Yeah.
And so it really ties up the story of Mikey in this last one. Mikey's the last turtle. He survived. Before the book came out, I knew it was going to be Mikey.
Yeah,
it was when that made the most sense. Like, I figured it was either
I honestly
Mikey or
didn't think
Leo.
it was. I thought it was going to be Raph, to be honest with you.
I felt like Raph was already kind of the sullen loner of the group, and so making him the sullen loner for a solo story it would already fall in line with his character. Mikey is an antithesis of Raph, and so that's why I said it's either going to be Mikey, right? Who's finally on his own without his brother's support, and he's dark and he's brooding now. Or I figured it was going to be Leo, right?
I thought it was going to be Donnie at first.
Yeah, it could have been Donnie too. Yeah, I guess the way this is going, it could have been all of them.
Yeah.
The whole progression up to 5. I haven't read 5 yet, but the whole progression up to 5 has been wonderful. This, I think I said it during the Codex Awards. This was one of the best modern era turtle stories I've ever read. And I stand by that now. It's fantastic.
It's a bit too dark for my turtle taste. And I try to draw a line on there on my turtle taste. This is not me saying that this is a bad story. And I think too many people who critique or review try to give you a clean up and down, right? This is horrible. This is great. For me, I knew it was going to be dark. I didn't expect it to go here.
Okay.
And so, but if you are into anything Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, then I recommend it, just so you can understand another turtle story they've done. And Tim would tell you he utterly loves it. So that's
there you go. And that's why we do what we do, ladies and gentlemen, because we all have different opinions.
That's right.
Yeah.
My next pull is Rogues, right?
Yes. Okay.
And so now this is by the DC Black Label, Rogues #2. For those who don't know, the Flash has a group of villains. Every villain in comic world, every hero has a group of villains, and we as comic fans refer to that villains as their Rogues Gallery, right? And we actually tier Rogues Galleries. Like, it's commonly accepted that Batman and SpiderMan have the best Rogues Galleries in comics, because all of their villains are so closely connected to their existence as a hero, right?
And a lot of them are iconic villains too, easily recognizable.
Yeah, exactly. And so the Rogues are the hero, the Flash, his Rogues Gallery. 5 of them teamed together, and they performed their kind of own bad guy group. They all individually were getting their ass kicked by the Flash, and they all teamed up, right? And they
we're tired of this
as the Rogues, right? And this series chronicles that it's on issue #2. They're old now, and they're in retirement, and they've all moved on with their lives. And the leader of the group, Captain Cold, decides that he's a guy, ex-con, parole, his PO leans on him all the time, and he decides that he's tired of the disrespect. He's tired of feeling like he's less in his life, and it's time to do one, even though they're all old, it's time to get the group together and do one score, right? One last big score that's going to set them up for the rest of their lives, and let them cruise in a retirement rogue style, right? And this second issue reveals who they're trying to steal from, right? And go ahead.
Is
Tim.
that Gorilla Groot on the cover?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so basically the hit is out on Gorilla Grodd City because it was always rumored to be filled with gold. And so that's what this book is about. This book's really fun. I was hoping they would take more of a serious tack on the book. You know, I wanted to see something kind of gave depth and granularity to the characters, and you quickly get into it, especially here in issue 2, and you find out the writer's just having fun writing this.
Yeah.
And
Do you like that aspect? Does it make it more of a better read to you that it's more loose and not so tone heavy and serious?
For me, I had to do a 180 in my thought process, like from
because I know you
cover.
felt differently with issue 1, and
What's
that's
that?
what you were telling. You felt differently with issue 1 from the first time you showed it.
Yeah.
And you were like, it's kind of just there for me. And now I feel like you did do that 180 because you're like, now it's kind of like fun and it's there.
Yeah. The issue 1 was kind of what I didn't get what I was expecting out of issue 1. And I was just kind of on it like, okay, I want to see where this goes. I'm more of a fan of the characters than I was at the book by the end of issue 1. Issue 2 has definitely given the book a personality that issue 1 did not do. And issue 2 is saying, this is almost the old guy's heist book, right? If a bunch of old criminals got together to do a heist on another criminal, what would it look like? That's what this book is shaking up to be.
And Gorilla Grodd, of all people that they choose to go after, that just, it's a recipe for disaster. Who are the 5 villains in the group?
It is the classic rogues. It is
Golden Glider.
It is Captain Frost, right? Captain Cold, I should say. And it is also Firefly.
Okay.
It is Mirror Master.
There he is.
It is the Trickster. And it is I forget her name, but Snart's Snart is Captain Cold. It's his sister. Right?
Golden Glider.
Yeah. And so they are the ones.
Nice. I'm gonna pick that up. That sounds very interesting. Sounds like a book I'd get into.
Now, the next book I picked up is part of me trying to complete a run. And so I picked up New 52 Batman number 9.
I have that whole thing. I love it.
Ooh.
And this gives me issue number 9. As of this week, I officially have all 52 issues of New 52 Batman.
Right.
This is the one I was missing, right? And so and I found it in the regular bin at the comic shop, right?
Always a win.
And I also picked up Omega Men number 1, signed by Tom King.
That's what I was gonna ask. That was the Tom King run.
Look at that.
Yep. And I saw it and I had to pick it up. Like, oof. Now I already have the trade, and so I didn't have the individual issues, but I love Kyle Rayner. He's my favorite GL. And this is when I felt Tom King was red hot, and I felt like Omega Man was really some kind of out of the box thinking and writing towards Kyle Rayner. And so I picked that up. A book with a story behind it. I picked up Daredevil number 168. This is the first appearance of Elektra.
Amazing.
That's going on the wall.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's already in the top loader. This is Frank Miller's first appearance, his first run on Daredevil. This is his first book.
What a way to start.
And I know, right? But I want to give a big shout out right now to the guy who sold it to me at my local comic book shop, Tyler, at Third Eye Comics. And Tyler, this due to life events, ended up, we've talked about it over the years. He's a huge Daredevil fan. And when I picked this book up, I did not know it was him reselling his personal collection for personal reasons. And I like to take a moment to say, people in life go through things. You never know what somebody's carrying and what somebody's going through, what sacrifices they're making. And I just bought the book, and he asked me if I would be willing to give it a good home. And I said, it'll have a home with love. And he gave me a discount on it. And that was it for me. I'm a guy who got a discount, was ready to walk out of the store. And because we have this long relationship, he came back and told me this was one of his personal books, one of his grail books that life forced him to sell. And so I want to give a big shout out to Tyler, right? I will treat your book with love. In my heart, it is not my book. It is still your book. And thank you for sharing it with me in this forum. And I would like the fandom to see first appearance of Elektra, right? And Frank Miller writing Daredevil. If you haven't read the Frank Miller Daredevil run, it's a legendary run. Love you, Tyler,
I have
man. Keep your
not
chin up.
gotten around to it, but Tyler, definitely a big shout out to you, my friend.
Absolutely. What a way, what a story to have behind getting a particular comic book. Those are the best books to have in a collection. Tyler, we here at Codex, we got you, man.
You know, when you see books in back issue bins, it really hit me emotionally. As a guy who collects comics, you think about your legacy. What's your legacy plan? I'll tell my wife, it's either going to be to my young man, Ty, hey, Ty, or they're going to be buried with me as the pharaohs of old, as I need to read them in the afterlife, right?
Take them on the river Styx.
Exactly. But, you know, the horror story for me is, you know, when I saw what was it, Pawn Stars, and the woman walks in the,
oh my God, there's horror stories with all that.
Yeah, with her uncle's comics, and he gave half the collection to her and half to her brother because he wanted them to live on in perpetuity. And she's pawning them for whatever she can get because she wants to take the kids out for the weekend. And then my heart is just breaking. And she tells him outright, she's never even opened the boxes. She dumped them in the garage, and now she's trying to get rid of them. And I say this to say that whenever we as comic collectors find those gold mines, those treasures, where we're in a comic shop and we're flipping through some books and we find a grail book, or, you know, you walk into a thrift store, oh my gosh, there's another comic collector's heart and soul that's in that collection that you just came across. And it made me stop and take a moment and say, as we search for these hidden treasures that are out there in comic world, right? Don't forget that every book's got a story behind it.
That's right. Absolutely. And not just the ones inside the pages.
Yeah. It's got a history of its own.
So my last pulls for the week, Something is Killing the Children, number 22.
Look at
Love that cover.
Right.
I've been seeing variant covers for that issue all over the place.
I need to find that mask is what I need to do, like right now.
Yep. This is the cover C, right?
I got cover A.
The cover B is the same, but the mask isn't bloody. And this actual mask flips off of her so you can see her face. Right.
Oh,
so
okay. So it's a page basically.
Exactly. Something is Killing the Children. Horror book, brutally horror.
Yes.
Brutal horror book. But I'm loving every bit of it. It pulls no punches.
No.
Yeah,
are you
doing
reading House of Slaughter as well?
I did read House of Slaughter up to, I think, issue 3 or 4.
Okay, because 5 tied it in well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to go back and pick that up. I wasn't finding it too compelling.
I feel like it didn't for me for the first 2 issues. 3 was but then 4 and 5 brought everything together and made sense. Now what they're doing after 5 is opening a new world.
Okay.
See, I am not in the mix of that world at all, and I feel like I'm being very left behind.
Oh yeah.
Well, you wouldn't be if you read it.
I know, but I've got so much other things to do that
I.
that book just doesn't cross my radar.
Now, my next books are. I'll start with the book. This is Silver Surfer Rebirth.
Ooh, very
Is that
nice.
the Mars newest one?
Yes.
That is
And
SpiderMan.
This is SpiderMan.
That is a cool
looking
cover.
like the Silver Surfer. And while I haven't been a huge fan of the Silver Surfer Rebirth story, this was the month I was going, I'm done with that. I'm not picking up another issue. But then I saw
and
this
then you
cover,
saw this.
right? And
If that's at my LCS, I'll get that on cover alone.
Now, let me be clear. That has nothing to do with the contents of the book. Right? If you're expecting to open
Usually how it goes.
And see Spider-Man as a Silver Surfer in the book, not gonna happen.
Wow.
Right.
I'm now second guessing my thoughts.
Yeah. And so I love Spider-Man. I love the Silver Surfer. And I was like, that's chocolate and peanut butter on that cover. You know, let me get this cover. And so that's going up on the wall back here. You can see one of the empty spots that's getting that.
That's wonderful.
No, just ask real quick. Are all those top loaders?
What's that on the wall?
Yeah.
No, on the actually, it's just the top rim that's over the door, and that's over here
that we've seen previously.
See that are top loaders. Everything else are just in bags and boards, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and they stick to the wall with some adhesive.
Nice.
Okay. Kind of the M3 adhesive tape. Sometimes I use Velcro. I think I'm going to be pulling them off and taking them back on. But a lot of times it's just the old M3 stickies that into the wall. There you go. And now what does end up happening over time, the bag gets a little loose. And I pull them down so they get their exposure, they get their eye candy love. And then eventually I just get them back into the box and end up changing the bags. The boards hang tough, the bags get a little ratty, and then I take them down and change them out and then box them.
Nice. I have an empty wall back here that seriously needs some comic books put on it, but I'm afraid with the direct sunlight that it's going to ruin the books. So I want to get like the top loaders or something that offers UV protection so I can do that. Yeah, most of my books don't have that. Just the big books up there. Yeah. The Grail books, as I call them. Yeah. Have that. Now, the next two books I bought because I love the cover, but they are prominent books. So this is Amazing Spider-Man #1, the relaunch this week. Getting that too. But this is the 1 in 50 cover. Ooh. Right. And I love this cover. This isn't the standard cover that was done by Ramita. I'm sorry. Hey, James, we're in the middle of a show right now. Yeah. I'll have to call you back. Yeah, that's no problem. That's my brother asking me to get on Call of Duty, right? Well, I mean, hey, Call of Duty's Call of Duty. He probably needs those kills for support. And so, yeah, I love this cover. I love this rendition of Spider-Man. One of the problems I've had is Spider-Man artists. Sometimes they take great liberty with anatomy, and Todd McFarlane did that first back in the early 90s. And so it makes it really dynamic. But over time, people get used to that. And when you start seeing a standard Spider-Man drawn by to anatomy standards, right, with real anatomy, then it doesn't look as dynamic and it may actually look flat. And so I think some artists have struggled with that over the years, trying what's the sweet spot for it. And I felt like this one just hit the perfect sweet spot on a Spider-Man. Who did the artwork? I have to look and see. Ramita, I don't think it's on the inner cover. I'll have to Google it. The 1 in 50? Yeah. I'll take care of it while you go. The Ramita cover, I really like that. I was torn between getting the standard cover A and this cover, but I ended up picking this cover up because the way the eyes look, let me put it to the cover. It actually makes him look a lot like the Japanese Spider-Man, right? And the Japanese, I don't know if that was intentional or unintentional, but I love that look of the old live action Japanese Spider-Man, you know? And yeah. And so that's why I got this book, Spider-Man #750. I also love it's a little touch, but his hands are actually tied into a lot of webs. Wow. And his fingers almost look sharp like claws, just short of that. And so I really love that touch on Spider-Man. So this was Spider-Man 750. And that brings us to my last pull. But real quick, the artist that is on there, I get his last name, and it's Chiang, if anybody knows who that is, the 1 in 50. Yep. And so my last book was Justice League #75. And I got another cover. I didn't get the standard cover for 75. I think this is the cover D. That's great. Yeah, but Batman on top of a monument. Mm-hmm. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, this is the old Death of the Justice League issue. So this is the issue where they actually die. No, that looks like a tribute to Hermes, like the Greek or Roman god, because with the wingtips, that's what it looks like to me. Yeah. And so
Batman on top, standing on top of anything, gargoyle-esque, monument-esque, I think is always classic. And so, yeah, I picked up this cover, and it's going to go up on the wall.
Nice.
I was going to say that's a monument to Jay Garrick.
And as far as the book itself, not so much of a review. This is the story arc that starts the lead into the next big crisis event. So if you like big crisis events for DC seems to do a crisis every year and a half now.
Yep.
But if you enjoy them, then this is the book that kicks off the segue into the next crisis. And what's key is that based upon the events of this book, the death of the Justice League, as advertised by DC, they're not going to be there to solve this crisis. Right? So what shall the DC universe do without the Justice League?
And real fast, fun fact, you know that does follow off a Doomsday Clock?
Yes.
Because Doomsday Clock at the end of it was giving all the crisis year by year that they were going to do them. And this was the next one.
Interesting.
They even had one where they had it, what was it? Where Superman was fighting the big green rage giant. Remember that line in Doomsday Clock? They had like
the DC versus Marvel.
They had a little throw in there, basically saying that they were going to fight the Marvel universe again in like year 2037.
Wow.
Donny Cates did the same thing with Thor. He's like, he had to fight that blue man. It had lasers coming out of his eyes.
That is cool, Tone. That is an impressive poll that you have for this week. I've got some of the same stuff that you do. So like with the Justice League covers, I got 4. So I'll show you all of those.
Okay. His comic shop loves them.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so the book I'm going to show you first is what I got in the mail. This is the only mail call I've gotten for the week. And I won this on eBay for 99 cents.
Oh, yeah, you called me.
Plus $5 shipping. So this is Spectacular Spider-Man number 93.
Oh,
yeah. This is the last issue with Black Cat in it. Like she was in for like the 5 issues previous to this. So this kind of ends that whole 5 to 6 months of her hanging out with Peter Parker. So yeah, 99 cents. I couldn't pass it up. I put a $3 tops for my bid and won it at 99 cents. Let's go ahead and show. I'll save the Justice League stuff for last. Dark Knights of Steel. I've got this also. I love this. I think this is a great story builder issue. It's not so much action heavy as it is thickening of the plot. You know what I mean? So this issue does that very, very well. I also have the B cover, which has Supergirl.
Oh man, I didn't see that one. Wow.
I love my comic shop. I told him when I created my pull list, I was like, I want A and B's for DC. And most of the time I get it. Sometimes I don't, but I don't fault them because I mean, they've got 50,000 other customers besides me. So if I don't have it in my pull list, I just walk right to the rack and pull it off.
Yeah.
Next we have Detective Comics 1059. I love that cover. I think that looks good. I don't know what's going on in Detective right now, but this is going to help me get back into it.
Is it Tomasi?
Yeah.
On Detective?
Tamaki. Yeah. Tamaki, Seamus, Grace,
I get so
Rice,
confused with them.
Lapham, Miki, Anderson, and Mulvihill.
Okay.
Yeah. So Detective 1059. Now, with the death of the Justice League, that book, from my understanding, and Jamie and Tone, correct me if I'm wrong, but that book takes place a little bit in advance. So the main character,
no spoilers.
Books, right. The main character books have to catch up to that. So we're still going to see Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and all them in their own books for a little while, at least, I think, until Dark Crisis officially takes place.
And then Nightwing takes over for Batman.
And yeah. Next we have Action Comics 1042. I love the cover for this. And I'm very curious to dive into it. So I want to see what this is all about, but I love the B cover. The B cover is very classic, late golden, early Silver Age Superman.
Oh yeah.
Look at that. That just looks
Superman.
It's got the most minimal shading on a cover I have ever seen. but it does so
yes.
much of a depiction of what it used to be. It's sickening.
Well, there's barely any black lines, like his biceps go into the blue background, and there's barely any of that. There's a lot of the shading, but no real black lines around the whole body area. That's awesome, though. Dig it. Now we get into Justice League. Yay. So let me show you what I have. We have the main.
That's the cover.
I love this story. It's 95% action, 5% storyline. And like you said, Tone, if you are into the big events, this is where to start. And it's a great way to segue into something like this, not knowing a whole lot. So if you're a new reader, for example, pick this up. This is a great place to start, so you can get in at the end of one era and the beginning of another. Next, so
if I can interrupt really quick, I just want to say to our viewers out there who aren't comic heads, when we say crisis event, what do we mean? And so we have these things in the comic companies we refer to as continuity. What are the lines that a character walks in? Jamie does it. There's been a great discussion between Tim and Jamie already about, does continuity even matters? Like, if you see Batman in 8 different books, what does that mean in real time? Is it one comic book a month, or are they just making up the time and put them anywhere they can? And if you try to draw a line through it, he was here this day, he was here that day, he was here that day. Does it make sense? And so comic books have continuity in the real term, but they have continuity in the greater context of the story that they've been telling for 20 years. Does what you write today match what you wrote, what was written 20 years ago? And if you've got 50 different writers for a book across 20 years, as you can imagine, continuity can get wonky. And the different comic companies approach continuity differently, right?
Very differently.
And so Marvel tries to keep a line to the greatest extent possible from what a character was doing back in 1970 all the way through to now, right?
Might not make sense from that pinpoint line, but it's there.
That line might be wobbly, but they try to make it one line, right?
Web of Spider-Man is what Spider-Man did on Tuesday early afternoons, guys. Yeah. And so amazing is what he did Friday and Saturday.
And so what DC does is something totally different. DC says, you know what? Just write whatever crazy stuff you're going to write. And then what started was in 1985. They said, wow, all this stuff is so crazy and wonky. We've got multiple Earths, because every time someone wanted to tell a different story, they created another Earth. So there are 10 billion Earths with 10 million versions of this and 10 million versions of that. And so we're going to create a storyline called a Crisis, the original Crisis on the Infinite Earths. And they wiped out a lot of that stuff, and they made one continuity, right? They cleaned up a lot of the stuff from the past, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And so what you find with DC is that whenever DC wants to clean up its continuity, it creates a crisis events. These reality altering events, these universe shaping events take place in a crisis event, right? And then they have another crisis event in the 90s. That's 85. And then around 95, 96, they have 0 Hour, right?
Yes.
Which isn't it's not titled Crisis, but it does the same thing. They're working with their continuity. And then
Crisis on Infinite Earths, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly what Tone is talking about right here.
And so that's from 1985, that book. Great pull, Tim. And so
I was gonna go get my trade, but it'd be far.
in the modern sense, every time DC's really been working with its continuity a lot in the past decade. And so the frequency of those crises have increased dramatically.
Yes. It used to be like every 2 years or so, and now it's often. Yeah.
And so now we've had Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis, and more and more and more. Identity Crisis. Some of the stories are really big. There've been 2 crises that are really tightly written. But the point is that this is DC's next crisis. Yes. And this crisis in particular, as opposed to the death of the Justice League, this is supposed to be the crisis to end all crisis. Like these external, multiversal beings and events are trying to reshape reality to some end state at the detriment to our reality or our existence. And it normally requires heroes from multiple versions of reality to band together. And what this one did, because DC wants you to know that this one is different, is from the jump, they took the Justice League off the table. Yes. They said the Justice League, Batman, Superman, as you know them, and Wonder Woman, as you know them, will not be able to swoop in and save the day on this.
From what I understand, this is supposed to be the reboot of reboots. Like DC is supposed to clean up their mess and give us some kind of linear continuity after Dark Crisis is over. Am I right or am I wrong on that?
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, right. You're right, but I don't like how you phrased that one bit.
Well, rephrase it for me.
They're fixing the timeline, ladies and gentlemen, so Barry doesn't need to.
But I apologize for interrupting you, Tim. I just wanted to let
it's okay.
The people who don't read comics out there, when we say crisis, and I want to take it for granted that you know what a crisis is. And so it means something to the people in comic world. We know DC is about to tell another gigantic story that's going to reshape how they approach their universe.
Well, hold that thought, Tone, and we'll dive into that a little more once we get the polls out of the way, because I'd love to have an in-depth conversation about that specifically, because Jamie, I know you're pretty passionate about what DC's doing, and I'm less invested than you are, so I'm curious to hear what you have to say, because I know you've got some insider information that you have yet to reveal.
I don't want to, but I'll kind of push it for you.
Well, okay, I've got 3 more. So this one, Tone, you already showed.
Yeah. See, I'm telling you, that's Jay Garrick up there. He's standing on his head.
Quite possibly. Yes, maybe, most likely. Then we have this one. This, I think, is the C cover, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I got that. And this one is my favorite. I think this is Dan Jurgens, but this is with all the caskets.
That's the B.
Yeah.
Is this one's the B cover?
That's the B. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my favorite.
I'm checking my comic hub to make sure that's on my list.
Amazing. I love all the cover, the caskets.
And for our casual fans out there, this cover is so important because the reason it resonates with so many people, it's a throwback cover to Superman's death in 1993, the Funeral for a Friend cover, where all the heroes are standing looking at Superman's casket. It's the same
Dan
angle.
Jurgens was a big part of that too.
Yes.
Well, hang on real fast. The one you showed, Tim, was the C cover. This one? The B cover is the lightning in the background.
Gotcha.
This one?
Yes.
So that's B. The caskets is C. What is this? D?
D.
Wow. Okay. Now I'm putting them in order.
Alphabetically, I might add.
So here we go. In order, ladies and gentlemen. A, B, C, and D. So that's what I have for the week.
Great.
All right. So now on to me. And as all of you may know, I do my bi-weekly pull list right there on TikTok. So guys, I type into Codex Station. See what I got for that week. So on the show, obviously we show pools. So when I don't have my pools, I'm going to show you guys what I've been working on. And I have a fun one for you guys today. So bear with me. So we were just talking, or Tone just brought up Batman. And if you guys look at the pools, when I usually show them on here, one of the ones I'm working on is New 52 Batgirl. And this is obviously issue 0.
Yes.
At 8.0. And it's got the verification inside. It is an 8.0. already. So I was very happy when I got this, found it for a steal, couldn't help myself. But this is one of the series that I'm working on currently. I'm trying to get the whole New 52 run.
All the 0 covers are amazing.
Which is actually technically issue 14 if you read it in order.
Well,
if you read anything New 52, it's right after issue 13.
When they did all the 0 covers though, like every book
everything.
for that whole run got 0 covers.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, it was every main story. Anything that went 18 issues got a 0 cover.
Nice.
The next one, which we'll be talking about later, I'm halfway done collecting this, and it is Moon Knight by Warren Ellis and Declan Shelton.
Look at that. Such a beautiful cover.
Yes. This actually is, there's 2 stories that I read that they try to take verbatim from Moon Knight. On Disney Plus, if you guys haven't catch it out yet, we usually talk about it here on the show, but go check it out. Tell us what you think in the comments down below. You know, we might have different opinions. Some might be against him. We don't know. But no, this is definitely one that I'm halfway through. I've been an avid Moon Knight fan since before Moon Knight was cool.
Yeah, same here, but I'm a little more harsh on the first couple volumes before Finch's run. So,
the next one, I'm a big Green Lantern fan, and I'm really trying to get all of everything Brightest Day, Blackest Night. I'm almost done, but I didn't know this was an actual thing until I saw it. But Emerald Warriors, and it stems off Brightest Day, but it's also, I think, is a 12-issue run. So it bleeds out of Brightest Day and kind of goes on to its own thing. One I think you guys are gonna like, because by the way, I did put SpiderMan back on my pull list, starting with issue 1, because I fell off because when I moved up here, I forgot to tell them to put it on my pulls. So I haven't gotten one, but I'm getting the Maximum Carnage run. So
look
right
at
now,
that.
Okay.
got the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
Those are the first 2 issues I'm missing for my unlimited run. I don't have 1 or 2.
Well, I do. Stay away.
Fancy that, Jamie. I'm getting a bus ticket tomorrow and coming up
It's
there
an
with the
expensive
kids
bus
to
ticket.
visit.
One of the ones that I obviously love, I'm obviously wearing the shirt, but is Red Hood. And I'm trying to work the rest of the way through. This is the last one I got for the Red Hood storyline when he first comes back. That started with Under the Red Hood. I believe I've got 5 more issues to grab of this.
It's got a major classic feel to it. I
Dude,
like that a lot.
It feels like the animated series, but more detailed.
Nice.
And lastly, the one that everyone loves to see, Venom Lethal Protector. And
I have that in the box. I just pulled Crisis number 7 out of.
So I'm trying to finish this series because of the fact that Venom Lethal Protectors just dropped about a week or 2 ago. And that is, it feels like it's just spinning off this, and I want to get the rest of it.
Is he back in San Francisco?
No.
Nah. Tone, in your collection, do you have Lethal Protector? And if so, do you have the gold version or the black misprint version?
I have the gold version.
Nice.
Yeah. Very good. But yeah, that's what I'm working on this week. So
I was active duty when it came out, and I had no concept of money management. The taxpayers are paying or keeping a roof over my head. The Army's feeding me. And so my money went exclusively into comics, and they were so limited when I was overseas that I would walk in and buy up anything. And so, yeah, that's when I got Lethal Protector.
That's amazing. Well, all right, gentlemen, let's save the Crisis talk for a moment. I want to talk some Moon Knight. So episode 5 just came out, and we have all seen that, right? Exactly.
Start slapping myself. Don't go back. I can't see this again.
Jamie, why don't you go ahead and take this away? First initial thoughts after episode 5.
My brain still hurts. No, I love the Lemire aspect of it. If anyone hasn't checked out the Moon Knight Lemire run, definitely go check that out. It has a lot to do with what's going on right now.
Read it in the moonlight. It'll give ambience. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
Ambience.
That too.
Yes. With Titi.
Ambience.
But no, I thought it was great. I love how they kind of now are finally tying everything together. Finally showed, if I'm not mistaken, it was this episode, the origin of what happened with Spectre. I love the Bushman reference. Finally. Yes. I was dying the whole time because I'm like, they're not going to show him because of the fact that he was on Luke Cage. I'm like, I already know this is out of their continuity. But once they said that, I was like, all right, Disney Plus is on the go. Let's do this. I want to see Luke Cage jump in here. And then,
oh my God.
It was just like, how can I put it? Just seeing Oscar Isaac, I always get that name wrong, finally got it right. Play both roles next to each other and see the past, see what happened, see how this
don't go in there. Don't go in that room.
Yeah, don't go in that room. He's like, why are you standing on that street? It's a normal street. Just keep walking.
Yeah, and don't worry about that.
And the way the scales just weren't balancing, and then you kind of seeing them
Slowly, yeah.
Yes. Now, the one thing I am gonna say is if you guys didn't notice, and I noticed this off the bat, which I was like, finally, and I thought they were gonna say something, but they didn't, was Lockley in there. Because you seen Mark when he was talking to Ethan Hawke's character, and he's like, Mark, you gotta calm, or he's like, Mark, you gotta calm down. And he's like, no, I don't have to. He's like, I'm stuck in here. And then when you saw Jake or Steven's like, you're not gonna keep telling me what, like, I'm not locked in here. Like, this isn't happening. And then you seen a third one, and he's got a bandage over his nose. It's broken. You seen the split, and he's like, what are you talking about? I'm in here. And he's like, I'm fine. He grabs and his voice is different. His attitude, his mannerisms are different than the other two. And he grabs that little pyramid. He's like, we can figure this out right now. And I'm like, Lockley, finally. And then they pan off of it and don't see it again. And I'm like, and his nose is fine and everything's okay in the world. And I'm just like, y'all are going to give me an aneurysm. This is like reading a Gambit book. What is going on here?
It'll all tie in the 42-minute episode.
Which is another funny thing that I found out. That it's the lowest. It's the shortest runtime of a Disney Plus show at 42 minutes.
42 minutes. How are they gonna smartly? I
already know what's happening. I already got the answers.
I'm telling you,
it's a movie.
If they say this is all a dream, it's all in his head.
No, right? It's going to be Stephen Grant's movie.
I'm not going to be on the Kodak's team. I'm driving to Disney, right? I'm jumping in the car. I'm driving.
This is Tone Supa, ladies and gentlemen, at Disney headquarters, and we're going to ask Kevin Feige exactly.
He's going to be live streaming it from his phone. Like, check this out. Pop.
Tone, where are you at right now?
Somebody is catching a stone cold stunner if that happens, right? They're gonna they're gonna swear they met the rattlesnake in the parking lot.
Oh my God!
Open a can of Moon Knight on it. But no, my theory, and this is still gonna be my theory, is this is a movie that Mark Spector is writing about his life, like they did in the Bendis run. And all these characters are waiting to the very last second to come out, and something's gonna happen, and one of them's gonna mess up, and you're gonna hear cut. And then you're going to see the real Mark Spector walk down, talk to Oscar Isaac as Oscar Isaac, and be like, you're doing a great job. I don't know what happened here, but can we kind of bring up the Lockley thing a little bit? He goes, because when I was him, that's what I think is going to happen. I have this feeling deep down in my bowels.
If this happens, I am calling you Wednesday at 9:30 after I finish watching that episode, and we're going to do a 3-way call with Tone in there, and we're all going to yell and scream at each other because that's not going to be fair.
I think it's going to be perfect. Because I really do think, because my basis off this, and Tone, you kind of mentioned it before when I wasn't here, was the whole aspect of the suit. Now, when I first saw the suit in the trailers of it, to me, it was like that Venom swoop.
Well, and even Jamie, before the show even started, you had reservations.
Yeah, and to me, I didn't know what route they were going. I didn't know what source material they were pulling from.
Right.
Because you could pull it really anywhere from Moon Knight, different eras, and it could be completely different. So
they really didn't make it evident in the trailer.
Yeah. Right. So especially with the trailer, like you brought up a great point, Tone, where it was like, you can't use that cliche trope of, I'm going to go run and put in my costume. I'm going to use this now, but in my head, the way I crazily think, just like all of them, is that it's CGI'd, and you could really, really see the CGI in it. So that's why it's kind of pushing me more towards the movie aspect of it. And also it was like, I want to see when Mark Spector comes down as the director and be like, I didn't have CGI. I had to put one boot on at a time. Frenchie, get over here and tell him what I was doing. And then Frenchie pop out and be like, yes, he was.
Tone,
but overall, if I had to give this a grade for me, this is probably a 10 out of 10. This was this is the most perfect episode I've seen so far.
Okay. Tone, how are your feelings and thoughts about Moon Knight so far?
Wow. If I like to rate things in planets, and I'll give it 5 out of 5 planets. I just utterly freaking love this episode of Moon Knight. And the Jake Lockley appearance, I did not catch until I watched it again, because
I'm gonna have to watch it again.
The first time it just went right by me, right? I didn't catch it at all. And watching it a second time a day later, I was like, wait a minute. And I stopped it. Well, he's got a broken nose. Was he got a bandage on his nose? Right now? Oh my God. That's Jake. Where I did think they made a Jake Lockley appearance my first time walking through. It was very subtle when Steven and Mark are walking down the street and they're having the discussion with each other towards the end. And the cab drives by.
Yeah, I seen that too in the background.
Yeah, and I was like, that's Jake in the cab, right? For those who don't know, Jake Lockley is third personality. He's a cab driver in the comics, yes. Right? And so when I saw the cab drive by, when they're having this discussion, when they're finally being complete,
I did the same thing. I'm like, please get out of the cab. Please, please get out of the cab.
With everything about this, I just utterly love. I love the fact that it keeps you guessing. I love the fact. I think the pacing is outstanding, and the pacing here was really. It was fast. It's like fast, but then it's not just fast. The intensity increases,
right,
and then the emotion increases, and then the pace increases, and then the intensity increases, and then the emotion increases. And I love the pacing of it. I loved everything about it.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought I was gonna cry when he was telling him it wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh my God, no, don't do this now.
It was hard for me to watch the birth of Steven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was difficult for me to watch it. My heart was breaking for him as a kid. And if any show can get you emotionally invested like that, then it's a show that's worth its salt.
Oh,
and I'm hurt that the next episode is going to be, I don't know how they're going to do this all in 42 minutes.
Told you.
And regardless of what it is, though, I just think, man, Feige continues the freaking hit home runs, and I don't think there's any other way to say it. Here's a character, a B-level Marvel character that is getting A-level story writing, right, and being brought from the backdrop of the comic universe into the forefront of the cinematic universe through a television form. Amazing. I love
Moon Knight is like the character that more hardcore comic fans were screaming to see represented on television. Yeah. And it took Marvel this long to do it. And when they finally said that they were going to do it, what did we all do? I don't know. Is it going to be good? Is it not going to be good? And even Jamie, with the first episode, you and I talked after that, man, I don't know about this. But as the series has progressed, we have put our faith in the hands of Marvel once again, and they have not let us down.
And the last thing I would offer, I would share, is that I'm ecstatic that they got away from the suit. They put him in the suit early.
Yeah.
And then they pulled him out the suit because with Spectre, it's not about the tights. It's not about the suit. It's about the struggle that he deals with just existing through this totem of Moon Knight with a god that where he's struggling with his own perception of reality, simultaneously struggling with his own identity while trying to serve the justice of an angry Egyptian god.
Right.
Well done. And that's not about the suit. The suit would have cheapened it. They showed us the suit. They used the suit as a tool, as a suit should be. And then they moved into the character. I love it.
Wonderful. So you say 5 out of 5 planets, Jamie. You say 10 out of 10. I'm right there with you guys. I love the series so far. I was in from episode 1. This episode was, I think, the least confusing for me, but the most in depth, because there was so much that went on in this episode and there was a lot to take in. And I missed things that you guys had caught So I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again. I think the episode, Jamie, I'm with you. Tone, I'm with you. 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. I'm right there with you guys. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with the last episode. Jamie, you already seem to think but I
hope
don't
I
know.
do.
I don't know. There's been Marvel
crossed.
doesn't make mistakes like Game of Thrones does, right? They don't leave.
There was no
cups.
Starbucks on the table. It's
exactly.
Okay.
But the green screen that was shown and the guy with the movie camera and things like that, those aren't mistakes. Marvel doesn't do that. And those are in there for reasons. So
my mind's telling me yes. And so is my heart. So hopefully it's yes.
I'm very curious to see what happens.
Well, like we were saying earlier, just so people can understand a little bit better, especially with the Moon Knight character. Originally, Jake Lockley and Stephen Grant were Mark Spector's separate aliases that he would use to investigate. And
Grant had the money. Lockley was the information getter. Spector was Spector, and
Spector was the mercenary. But they felt like there was too many tropes coming along with these characters, becoming Batman-esque, becoming another Green Arrow, let's say, when he had all this money. So later on, I believe it was in 2003, 2004, they retconned it where he had it's basically a multiple personality disorder called DID.
Yeah, he held the aliases through Mark Spector, Moon Knight, and then
and then over time got this multiple personality. I think it's
illusionary
dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah,
I looked it up because I had to try to sound it out. But I've seen a lot of people coming into this character, especially on social media and TikTok and all that, saying this is the best representation that they've seen of having DID. And I just want people to know that at the beginning it wasn't like that. They retconned it into this so that way now he's got all these personalities in one, including Khonshu. So just for all the new listeners or don't really know what Moon Knight's about,
Well, I mean, and even in the newer stuff, Mr. Knight is kind of his own personality too. Like it's Spectre in the Mr. Knight outfit, but Mr. Knight that we see in the Disney Plus series is not the same that's in the comic books. Yeah. So, okay, cool. Great thoughts on Moon Knight. Now let's get back into that crisis conversation, Tone. I want to dive into that a little bit. So what are your initial thoughts on what this Dark Crisis is going to be? How do you feel about it, like with the death of the Justice League and things like that? And where do you see it going? Because we've already seen previews of a Dark Crisis #2 with the Nightwing and Deathstroke fight. So we know that there's the power vacuum, but what do you think this is going to accomplish overall, I guess? What is DC trying to do?
I have no idea, and that concerns me. Like, so we know that DC had several scrapped stories. And so we know DC did the New 52, and we know a large part of the New 52 wasn't accepted. For the casual fan out there, the New 52 back around 2012?
Started in 2012.
Yeah.
DC said, we're going to take all of our comic books and we're going to stop them. And next month, we're going to restart them at issue #1. And we're going to select, 52 books for 52 issues?
It was 52 issues, depending on who was the character that they were choosing at the time. Obviously, mainstay characters got 52 issues, 3 annuals, and a 0 issue. So technically, that would be 56.
Yeah. And so they did this, and they made some universe changes, and most of it didn't go over too well, right? And so some of it were like Batman New 52 was a legendary Batman run, but Superman, which started off one way, New 52, and within 15 issues, they were kind of recreating the original Superman with the New 52 Superman. So the New 52 ends, and they start this story arc called Rebirth.
Yes.
And Rebirth just kind of meanders. It's on the front of all the books, it looks like they're going to use this as a mechanism to bring the universe out of the New 52 universe, if you will. And it just kind of meanders into nothingness, right? And they eventually just take the Rebirth off the books. And the next thing you know, they're like, well, if you want to see what we're building towards, it's going to be Doomsday Clock, right? You got to read Doomsday Clock.
And that took 50 years to come out.
Yep. And Doomsday Clock, it brings in the characters from the Watchmen universe and introduces them into the DC universe and kind of builds up this potential conflict between Dr. Manhattan, right, and Superman, right? The Superman of their respective universes. There, and it's not a direct conflict. There's a slow building story, but those issues come out slow. And right around now is when I start asking, like, what is DC doing? Like, we've had the DC metal thing. We had Dark Knight's metal, where we had the evil Batman. Then we had all the reality crushed when DC metal starts. And then they did another book where they broke the source wall, and there's these crazy cosmic
the villain.
Yeah. And after a while, I started saying, well, there doesn't seem to be a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like DC moved into this area where they wanted to tell the next biggest badass story, but I didn't see the impact of it, because there's only so many biggest badass stories you can tell in rapid succession before you're cheapening the impacts of the previous story.
You think they were trying to continually top themselves every year?
Yeah. I think they did, and I think with some of the management challenges that DC had, now I don't know, this could be completely not credible. This is just a fan out here in fan world spitballing. But I almost wonder, with a lot of the management changes that have taken place at DC, a lot of the book cancellations they've gone through, if someone just said, well, let the writers do what they do, right? Just let them write whatever they want to write. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you can end up quickly in a space that's not structured.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, I mean, and Jamie, that's what 5G was too, right? That was an idea that was there that was eventually pulled away.
Yes. And right after that, once it was pulled away, Dan DiDio, the editor at the time, got pulled as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if here's a reference that I don't think maybe Tone you might have seen, because I don't know if Tim, did you read Flashpoint Beyond yet or no?
No, I haven't read it yet.
Okay, well, it's nothing too big, but if you look at Thomas Wayne's board, or Batman's board, when he's writing at the beginning and they do a panel in, 5G's on there and it's crossed out.
Yeah, exactly. The 5G crisis has been averted.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And now, in my understanding, is Future State was the beginning. It was
they're 5G
was supposed to be. Right. Future State is another story where they took different DC books and they said, well, this is what these are going to look like in the future. And we're going to get to that future, but not right now. So we're going to give you 4 issues of what that future would have been. And then they kind of come back to the regular books. Right. And that was
with that, they had DC Infinite. Okay. So we have, I'll try to break it down as easy as possible.
That's right.
So 5G got scrapped. We had Future State. Future State was a potential ending to each character's line.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the significant ending that we learned in a 6-issue series called DC Infinite. DC Infinite told the story basically of Wonder Woman becoming one of the new gods, and she's seeing all this stuff transpire. And she asked the question, is this what's going to happen at the end? And basically the new gods tell her, well, no, there's certain outcomes that can lead to this, but if we can prevent those outcomes, we can prevent their future. And in that, the only thing that's been really tied to Future State, I would say personally, we had about 6 issues with Batman that tied in, which is normal continuity Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But then we had the 12 issues of Green Lantern, and to me, that's the only story that has stayed within the Future State timeline.
Gotcha. So when it comes now to where we are, I don't trust DC with their upcoming crisis. And this may be the first crisis that I don't buy. I'm not sure. I always end up buying the stuff I say I'm not going to buy. Right. That's the fan in me, you know. But I'm really unsure of what they want to get to in this crisis.
Right. Because they pulled the Trinity out. So we know that they're not going to be involved in what's going on. And other members of the Justice League have been tossed too.
Well, you know, there's this feeling for me. So Marvel Comics has a very structured cosmic hierarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been in place to a large degree for 30 to 40 years, if not longer. And so you have one above all, and then you have below one above all, you have Living Tribunal. Yeah. And then below Living Tribunal, you have Eternity and Infinity, the alternate aspect of Eternity. And then below Eternity and Infinity, you have the cosmic aspects of Death, Order, Lord Chaos, Order. The
In-Betweener. And
exactly, In-Betweener. Galactus fits into that realm, right? The
Grandmaster. And,
exactly. And then below that, you have kind of godlings, Asgardians, and god races, if you will. And so this structure exists. And so what you don't see Marvel do too often is introduce something new into that structure. They may expand something you didn't know, like they introduced a race of, they've got Celestials out here. Everyone knows Celestials now. They're right there with those universal aspects, and they introduce a race of god-like beings called the Beyonders at one point, right?
They gave you Null.
Yeah, exactly, Null. But they don't tend to just throw things on nilly-willy. And I feel like when I look at DC's writing for the past 5 to 8 years, there's been a whole lot of cosmic stuff that just has no precedent. Like we created this thing new, and now we created this thing new, and that
there's no substance behind it, no weight.
Yeah, like they introduced Barbatus, right? The dark god, the god of the dark multiverse, right? And so basically, you have a multiverse, which is an infinite number of universes. But Barbados establishes that underneath these universes, there's a dark multiverse, which is almost a mirror universe that's evil or dark, where negative things happen, right? A reflection of that higher multiverse. And he's the god of that dark multiverse. And all he wants to do is pull the regular multiverse down into the dark multiverse, right? And there was a big, what to do about that. That's the whole Dark Knight Metal. And you think, okay, Barbados is the new dark god, and that you're dealing with. But no, there's another god that comes out. Then there's another god that comes out. And so when we get to Dark Crisis, things have been so big for so long. To me, we were just getting to this point in DC where things felt like they were starting to normalize again. And now we're not at the next big universe event. I'm just not sold. That doesn't mean I'm not going to buy. That doesn't mean I expect it to fall flat on its face. I don't know, but I'm really neutral. I'm more neutral now, or I'm almost. I can't even say neutral if I'm going to be honest. I'm a little apprehensive of purchasing this, and I may want to wait an issue or two before I buy it. Just
or hear what I have to say.
Yeah, or hear what you have to say. Yeah, absolutely.
Go for it, Jamie. What do you got?
I was just talking about issues and leading Tony into seeing what we got. As far as what I have to say, I'll wait for Tone to finish unless you got more. But
no, that's pretty much it. I'm just not sold on Dark Crisis yet. I've seen Nightwing lead the Justice League, right? And as much as I love that, I love giving the opportunity for the next tier of heroes to finally shine, right? I love the fact that in this current issue, Batman says, "Let the Titans know." Like Batman immediately didn't have his contingency plan where he's going to create a new Justice League. That's what happened in one of the old Justice League books when the Justice League got sucked to the past. Batman hits a button on his belt, contingency plan, a new Justice League gets pulled by the Bat computer, right? Not this time. Batman says, "Call the Titans, goddaggit," right? We're
get them here now.
Yeah, we looks like we're going to go into. We are going to be taken off the board. Contingency plan is the next tier of heroes, our junior counterparts in the Titans. And so that part kind of interests me. but I think DC's lost enough credibility that I don't shell out the cash month one.
Here's my quick thoughts before you go into yours, Jamie. It seems like as somebody who hasn't really dove into a lot of recent DC stuff, it's very confusing because like with Dark Knight's Metal and Dark Knight's Death Metal and things like that. And like what you were saying, Tone, a lot of these things, they're doing one after the other, one on top of the other, trying to best what they did before. There's no weight into them, and there's no real consequences for things that have happened. Some things have stuck, but there's just no substance to it. And it doesn't make me apprehensive to pick up Dark Crisis. I'm going to read that, but I'm glad I'm coming in at the end of what I think is a collective sweep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would have preferred before. I know what you mean. I just would have preferred before they did Dark Crisis to keep doing Tales of the Dark Multiverse, right? And if when they did Tales of the Dark Multiverse and they're exploring this dark multiverse that they stood up, and that was just what, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago?
Not long.
When was it for,
two and a half.
Yeah, and so I'm like, hey, they could have kept that running. And if they had run that into this event, it would make more sense to me. But I digress. There are different things in its entirety. I'm just saying, yeah. I agree with there's been a lot, and it's hard to keep it all in context. Yeah. So
Jamie, what do you got?
Yeah, so now I can sit here and for the next 4 hours explain to you why I think Marvel's continuity aspect is worse than DC's. And I got legitimate reasons on why.
This is why I love asking you these questions, because you bring this type of aspect to it. I'm very intrigued.
And let's just say, for example, we were talking about New 52, and we were, and it was a 5-year plan. It was, hey, as soon as this ends, they even said at the beginning, we're rebooting into Rebirth. We got an idea. This is what we're going to do. 5-year plan. Boom. Right in the next thing. Where Marvel seems like they just want to reboot from now 1.0 to now 2.0 3 weeks in. Or DC or Marvel BC 1 million into Battle Worlds, and it just never sticks. But as far as what they're doing right now with the Crisis, I can admit that over time we had Dan DiDio leave. We have a change in ownership from Warner Brothers to Discovery. Jim Lee is still there, and I think that has to be taken into a precedent on it too, because obviously the man's got an idea of what he wants to do, but no one wants to implement the plan.
Right. And dude knows how to do it. I mean, yeah. With his work on X-Men and what he did with Image and et cetera.
He understands world building. He understands it takes time to get to one point to the next. My issue isn't, see, they kept the same name. No, not the same name. They kept the same numbering on a lot of issues. So like Batman's at issue 124. Let's just say, I think
like
it's at
1042 going back to the legacy numbering.
Yeah, from New 52, it was 0 through 52. And then they jump back to legacy numbering, which we all know and love. But let's just take Batman, for example. When Batman Rebirth happened, same thing with Nightwing, actually, too. They just changed the name. So it was Rebirth, and it was under the same banner of, and this is for people that don't know, so I'm going to give a quick rundown. Rebirth was under the banner, was that banner at the time. It was talking about Wally West and implements he had coming back, and Barry realizing who he was, but no one else really knowing who he was, and bringing that aspect into it. One example being Green Arrow meeting Black Canary for the first time and being like, I'm in love with you, pretty bird, like, and then moving on. Quickest example I can give. Then we jumped into just DC Infinite, which is their way of.
Right. There's a little catch in there, which was Doomsday Clock, where you find out that the reason these heroes don't remember everything is because of Dr. Manhattan.
Right. That was
slices of time. And
yeah. The reason I kind of throw Infinite over Doomsday Clock, though, because that was gonna be my next one and going into. Is because of the time frame and the way it was spanned. By the end of Doomsday Clock, no one cared about Doomsday Clock because we're like, we got to read this collectively or we're not reading it at all.
Because it came out like every 3 or 4 months, right?
At first, it was supposed to be a monthly issue. Then it became a bi-monthly issue. Then it became a every 4-month thing, and that was by issue 4.
Yeah.
So I really didn't count that into that time frame because once that last issue came out, Infinite was already established at that time. So at the end of Near Infinite into Doomsday Clock, we already had an established world. There were little tweaks like Titans in Manhattan, and you seen like a little blue hand every now and then. Well, you move into what we have now, and we really don't have a name. It's just DC, So going into this crisis, I feel like.
See, I'm looking at my books while you're talking to just kind of reference to that, and you're right.
So you look at DC right now, and now, like I said from the beginning, and why I got into all this, you had Dan DiDio get wiped off the board like a Thanos snap. You had a company take over in Discovery, which took over Warner Brothers. That, if you guys read what Discovery is trying to do,
they are cleaning house.
They are not just cleaning house in a bad way, though. They're cleaning house for the people that do not want to be there. They're saying, if you do not want to write good work, there's the door.
Well, I mean, the guy that the owner of Warner Discovery now, he has even stated that DC is taking one of their greatest characters and basically tossing him in the collective fire to just let him sit there. And that would be Superman.
Exactly. But I mean, they gave him a little bit of a backstory to go. Sale, good point. Convergence was in there too. That would probably fit in.
That's the in between for New 52 and Rebirth, right?
That was kind of like New 52's kind of like gateway into Rebirth at that point.
I know there's Convergence lovers out there, but I'm sorry. I think I mentally blocked Convergence out.
I have the trade. I haven't read it yet.
Congratulations.
Yes. You hopefully you got it for cheap.
Yeah, I did actually.
I am avidly collecting it as well because it's part of New 52 technically.
Is it going to turn into the same hatred I have for Final Crisis if I read Convergence?
No. I think it might be a little bit better Final Crisis in your opinion then.
Tone, you don't seem too confident in that.
It might be a step up.
I think Convergence personally is a step down from Final Crisis.
I'm gonna read this now. This is what I'm reading tomorrow night. So
but you like classic a bit more than I do. So you might appreciate Convergence a bit more than I do.
Okay.
There's a lot of people pulled in from classic comics that are in there. But back to what I was saying originally.
Sorry, go ahead.
Dale, don't skip it. Stop talking. Jesus. I love our chat, but just shut up for a second.
No, Sal, keep going.
Yeah, keep rolling with it, Sal.
This is as bad as Moon Knight Volume 1. Jeez. But no. So we have all these things happening, and there's a lot of moving pieces ever since the 5G incident, which I call an incident because Dan DiDio was chilling on a yacht and got told he was done. So,
hey guys, DC's going great. Let's cheers to the significance and success of DC. Oh wait, I got a phone call. Hello. Okay. Screw DC. We're done. Yeah, it's over.
And for the fans out there, Dan DiDio was the editor-in-chief of DC.
He was a writer before, and he was a writer for New 52, some of the issues, but he was editor-in-chief.
And he did such a I don't want to speak for the man because I wasn't sitting in his chair.
His beach chair at the time.
Yeah, it seemed like DC was degenerating and degrading fast under his leadership. And so he ultimately was unceremoniously dismissed.
Yep. Yes, there's still no real reason on why, but we'll find out. So, like I said, with all these moving parts, everything happening, I feel like this is going to be the moment where we're going to see if Discovery and all those moving pieces finally fit the mold. And that's why I'm excited for it. As a DC reader.
Dark Crisis have already been in motion before the merger, though?
Technically, no.
No? Okay.
If you listen to Joshua Williamson, who's one of the mainstay writers right now at DC, he stated that about a couple months ago when the feelers were thrown out about who was getting it, they asked Williamson, I believe they asked Williamson, we're going to go forward with this crisis. We need.
And he is the current writer for the crisis, right? For Justice League?
Yeah.
Yes, Williamson. Yeah.
Azure Gentleman, thank you for jumping in chat. First time guy here. He did say something good. Dan DiDio is now going to work with Alan Moore with his new comic book company, which I knew about.
Wow.
But yeah, how's it going, buddy? But no, we got while we're looking at it as like a whole aspect, this is the first time I'm actually more excited for it, because when William spoke about it, he spoke how he already had to be a year in advance. So he finished up Dark Crisis. It's done. His stories are done about what happens. And now, what's up, Kev? It's Kevin.
Everybody's coming in.
But no,
yeah.
hope you're doing well, buddy. So every time I keep talking, everyone's like, yeah, by the way, but so he's already a year in advance, and he goes, the way things are structured now, a year ahead will shock every fan. And that's what I'm excited about, because if you look back at like the Snyders, the Vendettis, the Kings, they never had the Tinians. They didn't have a structure this far set. They said, this is a story that we need you to tell. Can you tell it? And then they came up and went, we got this story, but we also got this story. Is it cool if we do that? Yeah, cool. Okay, as long as I do your story, we're going to do the story.
Well, it's like what they were saying with Feige and everybody at Marvel. They are at a retreat right now, plotting out the next 10 years of the MCU. That's dedication right there. Well, I mean, Feige already knows what he wants to do, but that's similar to what you were saying with what they have at DC Comics plotted out for the next year. From my understanding, though, like comics in general are always done months before we even get them, obviously, because it takes time to write, plot, and do artwork and things of that nature. But like back in the 90s, Marvel had things plotted out well in advance.
Except for the Spider-Clone saga.
That's very true. They definitely poured gasoline on it instead of
it was like a bad Eminem song.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pour gasoline on it and lighter.
Well, all right. Jamie, I'm very curious about the insider information that you have that you refuse to tell, and maybe we can talk about that off camera. Because I want to know what you know, and you won't tell me, and it's frustrating.
No, I'm not. If I told you, I would get a lot of people in trouble.
Fair enough. Okay, then it'll definitely be off camera. Tone, stick around for that, because you and I together, I think we can convince him to get us to say something.
I think Jamie should maintain his professional candor.
Don't listen to that. No, you need to tell me what's going on. I need to know.
Maybe later, Tim. But as of right now.
Oh, I just held you down, and you said maybe later. I'm gonna press you now.
No. Maybe at a later time when you guys finally find out what I'm talking about. Be like that. God. I will tell you the moment it happens. That's what I was holding the entire time.
Wow. Well, all right, gentlemen.
I tried to do the right thing, and I got punished for it.
No, you didn't get punished. I was actually saying, like, at that moment when it happens, I will say that's where it was.
Nobody puts Tone in the corner. Nobody.
Put Tone in the corner. He's a free man in that area. Have fun.
I will lift you up, buddy, and I will take you and carry you from stage to the center of the tables.
And as always, guys, don't forget to check out our TikTok.
Well, all right, we're running past 12:30, but we've got such a good flow going that I want to kind of change gears and have one more topic conversation before we finish the night out. And this was something, Jamie, that you and I had briefly gone over earlier this afternoon. And I want to talk about top creative teams in comics. This is something that can be turned into a breaking the code later, but I think right now is a good time to talk about that. Like, Tone, think about that for a second. Who do you think are some of your favorite creative teams in comic books? I can start off with a great one, and that would be Bendis and Bagley with Ultimate Spider-Man.
Okay, I can go into that and say Capullo and Snyder on Batman.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, Capullo and Snyder, I think, did some of the best Batman stories ever written. Court of Owls, Night of Owls, all of that. The first 12 issues of Batman was
The Death of the Family.
phenomenal. Yes. And with Bendis and Bagley with Ultimate Spider-Man, I mean, they were on that book near through it all.
And for everybody that watches, everything that Tim sees that's Spider-Man related, he thinks is Bagley art.
That's very true, because it is Bagley art. Isn't this Bagley art? Is that what I'm looking at?
It's in a bag.
Exactly. It's bag. Yes, exactly. So there we go. Anyways, this is Bagley art. I know this is Bagley's first issue, right? Am I correct in that? No, I'm not, but it is. It's Bagley art. So it's Milgram actually. So
everything's Bagley art.
But Tone,
see this Archie comic here? Bagley.
That's Bagley. Tone, who do you think are some good creative teams in comic history?
So I gotta start with hands down the Mike Zeck and Claremont when they were working X-Men.
Okay.
And I was younger when that happened. I don't think a creative team really blows me away to that level again up until you get to Mark Waid and Alex Ross in Kingdom Come.
Ooh,
yes.
Okay.
And I think for some reason when those two get together, I think they're chocolate and peanut butter. In a more modern sense, I love Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic.
What have they done? Because I'm unfamiliar.
Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic when they did Thor.
Okay.
Thor, God of Thunder, was just an amazing run of Thor. And I think Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic teamed up again on the relaunch of Conan.
Yes.
Right. And it was some of the, to me, as a guy who used to read the old Conan novels when I was a teenager, I feel like these comics were cut straight from that world.
Nice.
And I'm trying to think though.
What about Busiek and Perez on anything they've done together?
Well, I was gonna say thanks for bringing up Perez, but Wolfman and Perez would be my next choice.
That too.
I'll probably get Slade in this. I like Perez's art, but I've never been a huge Perez art fan. I respect Perez for what he is to the industry, but his art doesn't really sing to me. I know it's very detailed. He's very specific in how he draws them. He gets a lot into his panels, into his characters. He really honors each individual, each thing that's in something he draws. But I'm just really thinking about more. A lot of writers are coming to my head. A lot of artists are coming to my head. But writers and artists working together on a unique work or series of works I think are just outstanding.
I got, if you guys don't mind, then I got another one that just came to mind.
Go for it.
Donnie Cates with two different artists. One he predominantly uses for his indie work, which is Jeff Shaw. Uses it on such as, well, Crossover is one. What's the one I'm thinking of? I can never remember the name. It's the one he basically made a character that every drug that he touches or does, he gets a superpower from. So if anyone in chat knows what I'm talking about, please remind me. But you got his work on that, and then Nick Klein, who he's working with Thor, and him with Ryan Stegman on Venom. I mean, all three books have been out the park, home runs. Buzzkill was the name of the book. I just thought about it.
Kevin brings up a couple of good pairs. Obviously, the classic Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. But another, and I agree with you on this, Kevin, 100%. Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon on The Punisher.
Yeah,
I'm not smoking anything, Sale. I'm being honest. I think anything that Donnie Cates is touching right now is pure gold. To be honest,
right now, who's the artist that just finished Immortal Hulk with Al Ewing? Because
he's in trouble. He ain't allowed to do anything anymore.
The artist?
Yeah, he was putting in like what was it? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was putting in like subjective artwork in the background of the panels.
Really?
Yes. There's a big thing we covered on the podcast. Actually,
it wasn't racial undertones. It was extremist. Is that right? Or am I thinking the X-Men stuff?
I think it's like anarchist. I think you're thinking of X-Men Blue when that happened.
Right.
But he was like putting like these subtle undertones in the background, and like literally they were like, we can't have this no more.
Was it
you're not working here.
Was it anti-Semitic stuff?
I think it was.
Is that the one where it said something about Jews or Jewish on the window, and he had it drawn in such a way that that it was easy to interpret as something super negative?
Yes.
Is that what I'm thinking of? Okay.
But he did it multiple times throughout the book.
Yeah, it wasn't
anti-Semitic
just
art on the window.
That's right. Yep. I knew because we had covered that before.
Yeah.
Man, I had no idea. Oh, well, leaving that in the past. Moving on, closing that chapter.
It was Jews instead of jewels.
Right.
Yeah.
Jed McKay, and his work on not just Moon Knight, but also on where's she at?
Right. McKay's work on Moon
She's
Knight.
up on the wall.
Black Cat.
Yeah, Black Cat. Exactly.
That was amazing series.
Yeah, and
I'm getting that. I'm getting into that stuff. I got that Infinity Stone one. It's the last part of whatever he was doing, and I have to get the other stuff to read it to know what's going on.
McKay has been red hot. I'm sitting here thinking though. That's a writer. I don't know who the artist
See,
is.
we can think about individual writers and individual artists, but when they
together for a team.
Ivan Reyes and Jeff Johns on Green Lantern.
Yeah. Ron Lim and Ron Mars when they were doing Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
That was the prelude.
Ron Mars and Daryl Banks on Green Lantern and everything else.
Ron Mars and Daryl Banks on Green Lantern. That's a classic right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a classic one.
Yeah.
Kyle all day.
Well, all right, guys. I think it is safe to say that we have had one hell of a healthy conversation tonight. And
Sales, stop thinking I smoke things. I don't smoke anything anymore. I just drink my sorrows away.
What an episode to have Tone officially be a part of the Codex team. Tone, once again, man.
Woo!
Amazing. We are so glad to have you here and have your insight and your knowledge and your opinions as part of the greater good. It's absolutely wonderful.
Once again, thank you for having me. I'm ecstatic to be a part of the team and to chop it up with everybody here. Not just you, Tim and Jamie, but everybody in the chat and everyone out there in Twitch land. Good to be here. Good to see you, and hope to see more of all of you.
Right on. Absolutely. Jamie, before we get out of here, you got anything you want to say to our wonderful audience?
Yeah. First off, Tone, congratulations. Thank you for your first episode officially. It feels amazing to say. This has been a long, thing in the making that we're trying to make happen, especially with you. So I'm glad you finally are a part of this team. It brings nothing but more comic knowledge and wealth to the table. But as always, guys, remember to be kind to one another out there. As we kind of alluded to earlier in the episode, you never know what anyone's going through. And even making someone smile the slightest can change the perspective of their day. So always be kind. And guys, don't forget about all the content we're putting out now. I know Tim's going to go on a rant about it here in about 2.5 seconds, but
it's what I do.
We got so much content coming for you guys. It's not even funny. I say that every episode, and it just keeps getting more and more true. So guys, as always, I will see you in the next one.
And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we are on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, right here on Twitch, over on YouTube if you're watching us there, and on Discord, where you can join in the fun and the conversation. Lots of cool things going on over there. So all you have to do to find us, in case you're wondering, is type in the Codex Station, and there we are. All kinds of cool content over on YouTube, guys. Decoding panels, the podcast, episodes of After Dark, mail calls, Boom Thursdays, comic reviews, and so much more. If you're not a part of it, you need to be, because you're missing out. Once again, guys, type in the Codex Station. That's where you'll find us. My name is Tim. This wonderful guy over here is Jamie. Down below is the newest host, Tone Falcone. This is Codex After Dark. We are the Codex Station, and we'll see you next time.